Alrighty, you might be able to see what I'm working on at the moment, but I gotta wait on some welds to dry, or welds to cool. Probably wondering why I need to weld something. Yeah, I snapped all the studs off my catalytic converter, so I'm waiting on something to cool down. While I'm doing that, I am going to replace spark plugs, spark plug wires, and coils. I've had a waste spark issue where, well, spark outside the cylinder, let's say that. On the Sonoma, on the 2.2, the coils are on the side of the block, on the passenger side, near the wheel well. And when it's either really cold sometimes, or if it's rained really hard and those coils get wet, I start having a misfire. And it's so bad that it dies if you don't keep your foot on the gas. But if you get it to run long enough, you go over to the passenger side, you can hear sparks. You can hear sparking happening. But I've never been able to get under there before it dies to see, you know, is the coils arcing? Which these coils, GM uses these coils on, used to use these coils on a bunch of stuff. And there's actually an issue where the spark plug, where the spark jumps the post. So it's either that, or it's my spark plug's wires being 20 years old. So yeah, I'm going to do this while I'm waiting on welds to dry, or welds to cool down or whatnot. Basically just got AC-Delco spark plug wires, or spark plugs, AC-Delco spark plug wires, and then 2 AC-Delco coils. So you don't have to take all this stuff off. Like I said, I'm in the middle of putting a header on. One thing that would be easier to take off is take your intake off and your top intake muffler that goes through the front and right here. And then your spark plugs are right here. This one's pretty difficult to get to because the AC compressor is right smack dab in the way. To get it, you don't have to take the AC compressor off, but it's going to be a good idea to get some either long pliers or actually spark plug wires, because when I was putting the header on, I pulled a wire out. Like I said, these things have been on for 20 years, so they're all just heat. You know, the rubber deteriorated and it's just, you know, stuck. So yeah, there's what the spark plugs are. And then the wires enter this loom, go down there beside the alternator. That's going to be fun. And then down there, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, right there, there's one of the coil packs. So, first things first, if you're replacing the coils and the spark plug wires, jack it up and take the wheel off, because you got to go through the fender well to get it. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and replace the spark plugs. Just pull all the wires out, pull the spark plugs out, put the new ones in, and then I'll work on the wires. Alright, there they are. 4, 3, 2, and 1. There's a new one. See the pitting, maybe, if you can. The pitting up there. You see they slightly changed the way they do the platinums. These are the same part number, that one's thicker than that. But these plugs have about 100,000. If they've never been changed, they got about 100,000 miles on them, which is about the time you change a platinum. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these back in, and yeah, I'll start working on the wiring. All right, got them all in there. Because these are a tapered seat spark plug, you run them all the way down by hand and either do it a 1/16 of a turn extra, or if you want to get fancy, 7 to 15 foot-pounds after it's seated. and that's the right way to do it. A compression spark plug is different. I believe that's tightened down by hand, then half turn maybe, half turn to 3/4 of a turn or something like that. That's how you do a compression spark plug. Anyway, I already took the spark plugs out of the little loom right there. Now I gotta jack up, or excuse me, it's already jacked up. Take that wheel out, go through the fender, and I'll show you where the coil packs are. And then the fun part is going to be snaking all of this down and out, and then getting the new stuff snaked back up. I'm going to try to reuse that loom if I can. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And I'm looking through the fender well, and there they are. The only thing that I wish was that these, I'm going to number the coils when I put them in, but the new wires aren't numbered, which is kind of a bummer, because come up here, the OEM wires are numbered. That's number 4. It's number 3. The new wires don't have any numbers on them. So it looks like I'm going to be numbering. I'm going to have to pull all that out, which you might have to take the alternator out, because it's kind of tight down there. But you might be able to sneak it by there. But yeah, so I am going to number. I'm going to take these off, and then I'm going to number them. Number the new ones before I put them on. I think those are either 7 or 5 millimeters to hold those on. Oh, this transmission dipstick goes straight past where I need to be. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Alright, spark plug wires are out. Here's what I did to do it. Oh, I need to get a new battery. There's a bolt that's right there. It's connected to there. Took it off. There's a bolt on this bracket right here. The book goes in right there. I took that off. Those are 13s. And then up here at the top, right there, there's a 15. Loosen that up. Take the wire out of the alternator, and you can move the alternator out of the way and pull those spark plug wires up. That's the only way possible to do that, if you want to take them all out at the same time, because there is no room between the alternator and the block to get that through there. So I'm going to go ahead, like I said, take my new coils, number them, take one off at a time, number them. Like I said, those are either 7s or 5s. I'll let you know after I get done. But that one's going to be a pain, because it's right in the way of the transmission dipstick. I'm going to get those out, number them, and then I'll see which spark plug wires are which, number those, and then I'll come back. Alright, I was wrong. Those are 5.5s, and I can't find my 5.5, but luckily a 7/62, excuse me, a 7/32 luckily fits good enough to get it off. If you're doing this job, go ahead and get a 5.5. I got one somewhere because I needed it to take my HVAC box apart to change the evaporator in my Yukon. Anyway, I can't find it, or I don't feel like looking for it, but this fits. Now, there's a gasket right there. Your new coils should come with a gasket. Go ahead and put that on there now before you put the new coil on. And there's how I numbered it. 1 and 4 is on the bottom, 2 and 3 is on the top. Alright, have all of the wires labeled. Have it back in the loom. Even repaired the loom in one, and put tape over the loom and repaired it in one spot. I was going to replace it, but I couldn't find an inch loom. Ran into town, I couldn't find what at a parts store I went to, and I didn't feel like going to a bunch of parts stores because I need to get this done tonight. So I just took a section of the 3/4 that I found, wrapped it over the hole that was right here, and then just taped up the whole loom to fill any of the smaller holes. So I take this, run it down the hole right there where it did go, and then I'll connect the stuff at the bottom, and then, you know, put looms on it where I need to, because there's a loom wire separators. There's a wire separator that was down at the bottom, and then there's another wire separator that's right there on the block. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you. Alright, got all the wires back. 4, 4, 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 2. I got that back roughly where it was. I think it's a little bit too much of an angle. I might try to take it off and angle it a little bit more because I don't like how close that is. I got that routed through the alternator bracket. There's a piece that goes up, goes down where that bolt is, and then goes back out and goes in. It goes through that bracket, and then I push the alternator back in and put this bolt kind of sort of in to hold it up. And yeah, I think I'm going to straighten out that bracket and see if I can get this wire a little bit farther away from there. But then I'll go up to the top and I'll show you. But yeah, that alternator has to be taken loose and moved out of the way. Otherwise, you're never going to get those wires out. There's no way you're going to get those wires out. And even if you can get them out, good luck getting them back in. So you're going to have to take the belt off or take the belt loose and move the alternator to get the, if you want to change spark plug wires. There it is. I like that a lot better. Also, when you're putting these spark plugs in on the coils, putting the spark plug wire on the coils, use dielectric grease, especially with it being down here exposed to the elements. So yeah, I'm going to probably tighten this bolt down here on the alternator, plug the alternator wire back in, and then go up to the top, bolt the alternator back up at the top, tighten that bolt up there too, that 15mm up there, and then I'll continue running the wire, and then I'll just plug the wires up, show you how it looks, and then get back to putting this pipe back on the header down pipe, and then putting the AC compressor back, then putting the power steering pump back, and then getting it all back together and start it. So, I'll be back. Alrighty. Wires are in its loom. Wires go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Spark plugs are done. Alternator's all tightened up. And if you were just doing spark plugs, that's it. Like I said, you don't have to remove your AC compressor. I did because, like I said, I'm putting a header in, and also I guess for video purposes, it's a little easier video in it. But if you do still have the AC compressor in, 1 and 2 are going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to get to, but you can still do it. So yeah. Now that's it for this video. Obviously put the belt back on, put the alternator back on, whatever. Now I got to put the exhaust back, put the downpipe and stuff back on the exhaust, and then put everything back together on my end, and then I can start it up. After I put the power steering pump and the alternator, or power steering pump and AC compressor back on it. But yeah, that's it for spark plugs, spark plug wires, and coils. Use dielectric grease on both ends of the spark plug wires. Use dielectric grease underneath those coil packs when you put them on. I put dielectric grease on the coil pack in those spade connectors before I slid it on and bolted it down. You want to try to keep as much water intrusion down there as you can, because it's exposed to the elements. It's kind of a stupid place to put the coil packs, but this is also the same motor that was in the Cavalier. But anyway, they could have put those somewhere in the engine bay and made it a lot easier. But yeah, I'll talk to y'all later, and I'll get back to working on the headers.